Buenas tardes. Bienvenidos de nuevo a todos a este ciclo dedicado al flamenco y a sus raíces, que hoy concluimos con el bailador Kunal Om, quien lamentablemente no va a bailar, puesto que sería muy difícil, dadas las circunstancias actuales, pero sí que nos va a hablar sobre sus experiencias como bailador en India y su relación con España y la cultura flamenca. Buenas tardes, Kunal. Muchas gracias por estar hoy aquí con nosotros.
Gracias a ti.
Quizá, por favor, ¿pueden apagar los micrófonos? Quizá decía que en un futuro próximo sí que puedas ofrecernos una actuación en vivo en nuestro auditorio. Sería estupendo, la verdad. Estás ya invitado. En fin, en cualquier caso, estamos encantados de que estés hoy aquí, de que participes en este ciclo. Kunal se ha formado en danza jazz y en baile flamenco, del que casi es pionero en India. Ha colaborado con diversos coreógrafos indios como Terence Lewis, Bosco Martis, Darren Das, Carla Singh, Farah Khan o Chita Kapoor, y ha trabajado con figuras internacionales como Ricky Martin, Diana King, Shaggy, Boney M o Whitfield. Ha actuado en salas tan conocidas y emblemáticas como el India Heritage Center de Delhi, el NCPA y la Royal Opera House Theatre de Mumbai, y también en festivales como el Kala Goda Arts Festival, el Prithvi Theatre Festival, el Global Isai Music Festival y Yoga Institute Harmony Festival. Y él mismo fue uno de los creadores y director artístico del Festival de Flamenco probablemente más importante que ha existido en India. Es el Jodhpur Flamenco Gypsy Festival, que, si no me equivoco, se celebró por última vez en 2015 y del que nos hablará hoy también. Actualmente, además de actuar, Kunal da clases en Mumbai y es sin duda uno de los mejores embajadores que en estos momentos tiene la cultura flamenca en India. Bien, gracias de nuevo, Kunal. Quiero agradecer también al público que está hoy aquí con nosotros. Kunal va a dar la charla en inglés, tal vez va a introducir algún concepto en español, pero fundamentalmente su charla será en inglés y al final podéis mandarme preguntas a través del chat y se las transmitiré una vez termine su exposición. Así que muchas gracias de nuevo, Kunal, y te cedo la palabra.
Gracias. Bye. Muchas gracias, Marty. Thank you very, very much. And I am very happy to be here. I would like to thank Instituto Cervantes, Director Oscar Pujol, and Marty for this opportunity. And this opportunity has come at a very important time where we are facing a time where artists need to be recognized, and especially the gypsy artists from Rajasthan, and the flamenco community in Spain, who is actually going through a very tough time right now, with a lot of places shutting down. So this recognition is important right now, and thank you very much. I'd like to just request you to please mute your mics and your videos. Yeah. So I'd like to start speaking the webinar series that Instituto Cervantes has been doing, Raíces de Flamenco, is roots, flamenco roots. And they've had 2 episodes before where they had guest speaking last week about Kathak and flamenco fusion and the journey of the gypsies. And then they showed the film La Chodrom. La Chodrom is a film about the gypsies of Rajasthan the gypsies actually from India and traveling their journey through Hungary, through Romania, and entering into the south of Spain. The film is more about the music, the journey of the gypsies with the music, the way the music traveled, the way the music evolved with them, and how it moved into Spain, and uh, it how it how flamenco was established, or how flamenco was born, the birth of flamenco music. The dance came in much later. The gypsies also had a language, so the Calbelia, the Saperas, spoke a lot of Roma, and the Gypsy language actually was known as Romania, and through their journey in the movie also. But I'd like to go beyond the movie, where I'm going to be sharing my experiences of an artist as a dancer, right from India, and moving my journey to Spain, to Granada, to pursue flamenco. Uh, it Well, I was very inspired by the art form because of its roots from Rajasthan, and it's scientifically been proven. And there is literature with the Mehrangarh Museum Trust, with the Mehrangarh Fort in Rajasthan, where they do say that the gypsies, they originated from the north of India, from Punjab, from Rajasthan, and then they traveled. Uh, for me, when before that, I'd like to speak about the gypsies a bit, where they showcased their art and their talent in the south of Spain. When they reached there, I mean, it was tough for them. They worked as laborers, they worked as blacksmiths. Life was difficult. Uh, um, it was not easy. It was not even. They were slaves, and they so they used to sing. They used to sing to distract themselves from the hard work, the life, uh, the entire process at that time. And that singing actually got evolved uh, into flamenco, into flamenco cante singing, into flamenco singing. Um, they used to work as blacksmiths, and when they used to work as blacksmiths, they used to, hit the metal, and that sound of metal was actually a rhythm for their singing. And they had poetries. They had different poetries. So flamenco singing is a lot about different poetries. Right now in flamenco, there's a lot of poetries of Federico Garcia Lorca, and that's what they use in flamenco songs. But back then, it was poetries of different their experiences, their life, their regular life, their everyday life. You know, uh, what I will do now is to start off with is I'm going to share a small video with the history of uh, the flamenco, the journey, and after which I will speak a little ahead about me in Granada with the gypsies and the flamenco. Yeah. Uh, Request all of you to please put your mics off. Thank you.
1,000 years ago, they left Pakistan and started to roam all over the earth. When they came to Egypt, now called the United Arab Republic, they took the name Gypsies. Egyptian? Gypsies. Then they separated, and some of them moved up and across Europe, and the others moved across Africa. Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, and eventually a group of gypsies arrived in Granada, in Spain. There had been a long war in Spain between the Spanish people and the Moors. The Moorish king had built a magnificent castle on a mountain above Granada. That castle is called the Alhambra, and it's one of the 7 wonders of the world. Across the valley from the Alhambra, The other Moors dug caves on another mountain above Granada. They lived in them. When the Spanish people drove the Moors from Spain, the gypsies moved into those caves. That was in 1492, same year that Columbus discovered America. The gypsies have stayed there ever since. Unlike other gypsies, they don't move about. They love their caves on their mountain, and that mountain is called Sacramonte. While their parents worked in the caves, the children played on the mountain. Late in the afternoon, the flamenco singers and dancers come down the mountain to perform for the tourists. The gypsies of Sacramonte are famous for their flamenco music and dancing. There are 14 caves like this one, and the tourists pay to see the gypsies sing and dance from 6 in the evening until 2 in the morning. The gypsies become professional dancers at an early age. This girl is only 15 years old. In their spare time, they still dance.
Ay, si me partieran los huesos, ay, que como crujen los piñones, y a mí no me dolerían tanto como tus molinas.
Since the dawn of time, human beings have been condemned to earn a living through work. That is probably why in all cultures people have sung while they work in order to make it more bearable. In a similar manner, flamenco created the martinetes, those rousing songs of the forge to accompany the rhythm of the hammer striking the anvil. The pregones are proclaiming songs called out by street sellers when hawking their wares. The trilla threshing songs are well suited to work in the field. The mining songs are true commentaries on the hard work down the mines of Levante, and the many other styles which were erased from memory when the activities which justified their existence were closed down.
Para unir sus ilusiones.
El día que me tiene el día que me tiene tú vas a venir prima a buscarme. Es que no muriera. Como un caballo sin freno. Tú vas a venir compañera humana. Como un caballo sin.
Flamenco has had unlimited ambitions. As the old gypsy patriarch once said, "Long live the flamenco gypsies of the world, wherever they are, and whatever race they may be."
Ese niño no se casa, porque los cabellos yo ya como yo. Ay, Trintran, si a la puerta llama. Nadie diga que locura. Y esto que yo por ti estoy haciendo, yo es para darte más disgusto. Y es cerca que tengo ahí. Yo ya no soy quien era, ni quien debía yo
Yeah, so that was actually the little film. That was actually the inspiration that I I took with me before going to Spain. That was the kind of research I was doing. That was the kind of videos and the study I was trying to do before going to Spain. I researched a lot for flamenco. I wrote to a lot of artists, in Spain, to schools, institutions. It was very difficult. Language was a huge barrier, is I felt when I reached Spain. So Spanish language, I think you all should learn Spanish language. It's a beautiful language and a beautiful culture. Flamenco is not only a culture or a dance form or a music form. It's an entire culture in itself. And when I reached Spain, I before reaching Spain, I worked on a festival called the Jodhpur Flamenco Gypsy Festival here, which was done in the Mehrangarh Fort in association with the Mehrangarh Museum Trust, the Maharaja of Jodhpur, and director friend of the festival, Mr. Roberto Niadu. I worked with them on the festival, and that was my first interaction with flamenco, where I was very passionate about flamenco, but I had no idea about flamenco, the style, the rhythms, the music, the whole dancing, and I was only in my research process. And when I met those artists over here in India, and we had some very big legends who came down for this festival, about 60 artists, 3-day festival, 20 concerts, and that was an eye opener for me, because that's when I really connected with the whole journey of these gypsies coming together and doing something so unique and something so different and something so passionate. In spite of the two languages being so different, they hardly spoke the languages. I mean, they spoke only Spanish. The Spanish don't even speak English, and if they know English, the gypsies don't speak English. And the Rajasthani, the Langa community of Rajasthan, the Manganiyar and the Langa community of Rajasthan, they only speak Rajasthani or Hindi. So this mix was incredible. It was incredible, the togetherness, the experience, and watching them work together, and just the passion of music and the passion of dance, and things just the synergy with each other, and the way it just flew, and the way it just happened, the way it just came together, because of the similarities, because of the culture, because of the long, the heritage, the generations of musicians, the generations of artists that they have been. So with all these experiences, I landed up in Granada through my research. I realized that I want to learn the flamenco in a very pure format, in a very pure style, not mixed with different influences. So Granada for me was the right place to be. And I started with a school called Carmen de las Cuevas, which is my second home, my temple of flamenco. And at the same time, outside school, I used to study with the different gypsy families. These gypsy families are the legends of flamenco, like the Mario Maya family, or the Faruquito, Faruco family from Andalusia, from Granada. I did interact a lot with artists and families from different villages of the south of Spain, like Lebarica, Utrera, Jerez. So every city, every village, every barrio, the neighborhood has a completely different approach to flamenco. The style of singing, the style of dancing, the style of guitar, which is a very, very, very important element of flamenco. And the journey was very, very, the form was very pure. When I went there, and I came from Bombay, I came from 20 years of experience of dancing commercially, and Bollywood and everything else around you. And when you go there, and when you try and connect with this culture, it opens your mind. It blows your mind apart. You just realize the purity, you realize the purity behind this entire art form, how they are imbibed into this culture. They live, they eat, they sleep this culture. There's nothing else that they do. There's nothing else that matters. And that is how my training started. In the initial days, my training was very, very tough, because language was a barrier and everything was in Spanish. And I had studied a little Spanish in India before going there. But then when the gypsies speak their Spanish, it's just impossible to connect, to understand, because they speak very fast. They have different dialects. So training became tough, because the teachers in the caves only spoke in Spanish. And that's one point when I really felt, that was this the right decision in my life. But then I found a way. As an Indian, I came across, I thought to myself, and when I reached that, I said, I have to find a way to study this, to adapt to this whole classes and the way of teaching, because their rhythm patterns are different, their music styles are different, their songs are different, the approach to singing is different. So the music, of course, did resonate a lot to me and connected me with Rajasthan, with the gypsies, our music from Rajasthan, or our music from Punjab, from the north, the Sufi style, the high-pitched voices, the instruments, so those things, the musicality, those things, I did not find a problem with those things over there, and it did connect with me personally very strongly. But when it came to the dancing, I had to find ways. And what helped me was, when I was young, I had studied tabla for a couple of years. And the tabla rhythm styles and tabla patterns is what actually helped me to adapt to flamenco patterns, because there's a lot of footwork in flamenco. Flamenco, the most important element of flamenco dancing is a lot of, but not tap. Tap is completely different. Flamenco is more grounded, more earthed, more rooted. So that became one way of approaching the dance, the flamenco. And then when I started using that technique, the tabla rhythms, and learning through rhythm, learning musically and not through numbers, is when I started growing into flamenco as a dancer. I started progressing. I felt very happy about that. Well, apart from being in school and learning with multiple teachers, learning multiple dance styles, the interaction with the gypsies. So the gypsies are a very, very close-knit group of people, close-knit families. They're huge families, like here in India, like the way we have huge families, and they are very close-knit. They meet regularly. They spend a lot of time together. So these gypsies, some of them are, they are approachable. You can approach them, but sometimes they're very, very closed and very reserved within them. Somehow I got lucky because of the festival that I did in India. And so I knew a lot of artists, and I went with that experience to Spain. So the families in Spain, the artists in Spain, in Granada, in Madrid, and all over Andalusia, the flamenco community actually knew about this festival because of the artists who had come down to India. So that helped me connect with these people, with these families in Spain. And when they accepted me with open arms. They accepted me with open arms. They, maybe they saw the passion and the honesty in me to pursue, to learn the art form, to learn the culture, to be a part of their culture, to connect with them, to learn, to study. I believe that they saw that honesty. And that experience for me that's when I realized that this is not just dance and this is not just music. It's an entire culture that you are going to be living, you're going to be studying. And if you don't live the culture, you cannot dance the flamenco. You cannot play the flamenco, the guitar, you cannot sing the flamenco, because you have to live their life, you have to live their culture. And that's when I told myself that this is what is going to be for me in the next coming few years. Well, I did realize, I did think that, I'll go for a year, I'll learn and I'll study and I'll come back to India and I'll showcase some flamenco here. But that was not the case, At the end of 1 year, I couldn't even stand on stage, and I came back to India, and I took a decision to go back to Spain for another 3-4 years. And I spent a lot of time studying in Spain with these gypsies, with the schools in Andalusia and Madrid. And so living that culture was something that helped me really get into the skin of flamenco. I still am a student of flamenco. You're always a student. You should always be a student. But adapting to this culture was initially tough because it is so vast. Flamenco was so vast. Rajasthani folk also. The songs that we listen to, that I use, that I work with, are 100-year-old songs. They are originals now being used in different forms and different albums and films, etc. But if you go on back and listen to the original songs, the original the formats of these songs, they resonate. They grow with you. They grow within you. And same way the flamenco music, that they completely, when you listen to flamenco style of singing, the flamenco dance, and the flamenco music, and then they all come together, it's an eye opener. It's a complete eye opener. And somewhere it is very emotional. It is a very, very emotional process. It is a very emotional journey because you're so into the whole process of studying, of learning, leaving a country, going into another country, living a culture, trying to dance, trying to adapt, trying to, be them, trying to behave, and landing up making a fool of yourself. But I mean, that's fine. That's, I guess, is a part of the process, and that's how the process should be. You should make your mistakes during the learning process. So these things, the gypsies, the families, the villages, the Brika, Utrera, Jerez, Cadiz, they all have their own barrios, the neighborhoods with flamenco, and it's also it's a very vast art form. It's a very vast art form. The flamenco study actually is a good 12 to 15-year study in the conservatorios, in the conservatories of Spain, and they're not open to these conservatories, not open to people from around the world. It's more for the Spanish because they start studying right from childhood. These are the government programs, and they start at a very young age. And like our classical styles here in India, like Kathak or like Bharatanatyam or Odissi or Kuchipudi, these styles, learning any classical music or instrument, it's like that. So yeah, so coming to the experiences with these teachers, it was fantastic with these gypsies, with the families. I landed up studying with a lot of families. I used to be, in Hindi, they say, besharam. I used to land up being in every possible show, in every possible event. I wanted to be backstage, wanted to understand the culture, wanted to understand the artists, get into their families. Coming from India, I was shameless. I had no fear because I had nothing to lose. All I wanted to do was gain, to pursue, and to study. So I went with that approach, with that kind of an emotion which I had within me, and I surrendered myself to this culture, to this art form, to this beautiful art form. Well, in my next segment, I would like to show you another video where I have the legends speaking about their interaction with our Rajasthani artists when they came down for the festival here in India. These are a small bites and interviews of their level of understanding and their emotions and their feelings about their fusion with Rajasthani folk. And then I will take this conversation ahead. Okay. Sure. How do I? Oh, stop. Sure. Sorry. So, well, yeah, that was a little experience, little bit of what I could share from the festival that we had in Rajasthan, the Jodhpur Flamenco Gypsy Festival. And I'm always in debt to my mentor, Mr. Roberto Niel, who gave me this opportunity to be a part of this beautiful festival and this journey before leaving to Spain, before heading to Granada to study and pursue the flamenco. Well, my next segment, I'd like to speak to you about coming back from Spain, understanding this whole the culture and the journey of flamenco, and spending a lot of time there and trying to adapt it in India, and how I perceived, to be very honest, I had no idea how I was going to use it in India. When I was in Spain and I was studying it, and I always told myself, Kunal, what are you going to do with it? Because there are very important elements of flamenco which are not available in India. The guitar and the singing. Fortunately, we have a few guitarists now, but there's no singer. There's no flamenco singer, and flamenco is something which is very incomplete without singing. So I had to adapt to these limitations. I had to work around with these limitations. And that's when I came back to India and I started working with a colleague of mine, a very renowned artist from Bombay, a Kathak dancer. and we created a concept together called flamenco katha, a fusion of the flamenco and the kathak from the Jaipur Gharana. The creation started off with just two of us creating a 10-minute piece and 15-minute piece, and then grew to be a 1-hour show. That got actually recognized between people here in India, between all genres of people, between all communities. We travel with the shows in theaters, in festivals, in states, corporate events and wedding events, and we realized that the people were enjoying watching this. A lot of people who came up to me and asked me, "Do you teach? Do you?" But when it comes to teaching and when it comes to studying, it is so difficult. Right now, we are in a country where I feel that everyone is so influenced still with Bollywood, and of course a lot of Latin styles, salsa and bachata. But flamenco is something that has a lot of potential here in India. I then continued to design concepts with the Rajasthanis, where I started performing, because I understood one thing here in India, that you have to reach out to the people in the language they understand, in the forms they understand, in the forms they enjoy or they like. And that's when I said that with my limitations, I'm going to try and fuse flamenco with Indian art forms, with Kathak, with Rajasthani folk, semi-Sufi, folk from Punjab, and and Qawwalis, and so this kind of fusion, because I was very clear about one thing, that I had to maintain my concepts in the boundaries of flamenco. I did not want to dilute that, and those limitations actually helped me create, helped me understand. In that process, I also landed up learning and understanding a lot of Indian art forms, the Kathak, and the musicality behind it, the Rajasthani folk, and this fusion right now, what I do here in India, I believe that has a lot of potential. I've always believed that the Spanish language, the culture, dance, music, tourism, they all travel and they all go together. The potential of flamenco in India is huge because it is a very culturally rooted art form. It is a very, very powerful art form when it comes to the singing, the music, and the dancing. And I believe that people should learn. But before that, you have to learn Spanish. You must learn Spanish. It's a beautiful language. Well, so having said that, the idea was to reach out to people in India in the language they understand. And that's when we created this fusion and started working towards this fusion. And I hope that this grows, this becomes big here in India. It's going to take a while, it's going to take a time, especially in the current situations. But hoping from next year onwards, with Instituto Cervantes and with the embassy, we can continue to grow this and build this, work towards soft power and cultural diplomacy and exchange of programs, universities and schools, bring down flamenco to India in a very big way and have it reach every possible home. That's a dream. That's a dream. Well, before I finish this session, I would like to close with my final video, and then we will be open to. I'll have Instituto Cervantes back with us again, and we'll be open to questions. This last video is basically a little showcase of what I do here in India and what I am trying to promote here in India with flamenco. And yeah, I mean, I'll just play the video. Okay.
mesmerizing.
Very powerful.
It's like euphoria.
Love the talk of the feet.
A different level of fusion.
सतरंगी रे तू ही तू मन रंगी रे रे का मा पा मा गा पा गा रे का मा पा गा रे
Kunal Om.
Well, yeah, that was the little presentation of what I do here in India. As I said, I have to reach out to Indians in the form they understand, in the language they understand. So it's very important for me to spread flamenco. I try and bring in the flamenco slowly, the pure flamenco slowly, when people start, they're liking the form, understanding the form. And I really believe that everyone should pursue this art form, learn the language, spread the word, and really go out there and bring in something different, something new, connected to your roots, connected to your cultures, connected to Indian art forms, and present it and do something new and different. So thank you very much, and Marty, Oscar.
Thank you. Muchas gracias, Kunal, for this wonderful lecture.
Thank you.
Ha sido realmente muy interesante. Si alguien quiere hacer algún comentario o alguna pregunta, puede mandármelo en el chat. Bueno, I would like to start with a question. What would you recommend to a youngster or a young dancer, guitar player who would like to learn flamenco? So what are the possibilities right now in Indian cities, in Mumbai, Delhi, to learn flamenco and to learn what the meaning of this culture?
Yeah. Well, I'm here to teach, so you're most welcome to reach out to me, and I can always teach you the initial study of flamenco, the basics of flamenco, the introduction to flamenco, and you could have a feel of the entire format of flamenco, the dancing, the guitar. We have a guitarist here in India, one of the only guitarists, one of the very few guitarists here in Bombay, so who spent a lot of time again in Spain, in the south of Spain, pursuing flamenco. So he's here too, and we have classes online, we have classes, but in presential, in person. So these are the opportunities, and I believe also Instituto Cervantes in Delhi has something going on with flamenco. I guess someone from Mexico, so we could do it together. But yeah, we're always here to help. And then if you feel that, if you really want to pursue this form, then there are a lot of opportunities and options in south of Spain where I could continue and discuss and help.
Okay, we have some questions, commentaries. So Alexis Jenkins Visual says, if the last video is available on YouTube. So maybe...
the last video is available on YouTube. You can just go to my personal YouTube channel. It's called Kunal Om Flamenco India, and you can see the video there.
Okay. Well, and Oscar Pujol says looking forward very much to your performance in Delhi. So we are waiting.
No, absolutely, Oscar. Really looking forward to being there, to doing something, to doing so much with you, with Instituto Cervantes, with the embassy, and taking India by a storm with flamenco. That's the vision. That's the vision. That's the dream.
Okay. Again, Alexis asked, how does Kunal continue his classical flamenco training? Does he travel to Granada occasionally for refresher courses?
Yeah, so the first 3 years, I started in 2014. The first 3 years, I lived in Spain for almost 11 months a year, and I only studied flamenco 9 hours a day. That was my foundation. After that, I spent traveling between India and Spain. And I also, every year now, last 2-3 years, I travel 3 months a year. I go to Amor de Dios in Madrid. Amor de Dios is one of the oldest flamenco institutions of the world in Spain. And we have very intensive summer training programs. So I generally shuffle between Granada, Seville, and Madrid. That's where you will find me during the summers. So for all the intensive training and the classes. Right now, it's only about training. So if I have a show or I don't have a show, I am training in my studio for 4 to 5 hours a day, just with practice and basic techniques. And you have to keep practicing every day, especially when you're in India and when you have no support. It's very difficult to really approach it by yourself. And that's what we do.
Okay, so we have the artist Jose Manuel Darro, who actually was in Delhi last year at the Instituto Cervantes.
Oh, wow.
He says, me ha encantado, so vivo en Granada y estaré encantado de ver al señor Kunal cuando venga por Andalucía. So you are invited to Granada to visit.
Muchísimas gracias. Muchísimas gracias.
Jose Manuel Darro.
Vale, muchísimas gracias, Manuel, y espero que puedo irme pronto, el año que viene, ojalá, con los aviones y borders abiertos. Hola, brother, muy fuerte, a ti, a Granada.
Si quieres hacer algún... no se te oye, José Manuel.
Hello, Ken. Ken is here.
Hello, Kunal.
Parece que se ha ido, ¿no?
Sí, José Manuel.
Sí, no, digo que estaré encantado de recibirlo porque tengo muy buenos amigos de flamenco y seguro que vamos a hacer cosas porque hice un hermanamiento entre la Alhambra, la Fortaleza Roja de la Alhambra, con la Fortaleza Roja de Delhi y Agra, y seguro que por ahí puede surgir algún buen proyecto, uniendo artes plásticas con danza y música.
Muy bien.
Me ha encantado conocerlo.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias.
Namaste.
Ken, el señor Ken, quiere hacer una pregunta.
Ken is an international artist. He is from the UK and un aficionado de flamenco, and he he only paints flamenco. He loves flamenco. He's painted some of the most, the biggest artists of Spain, and has a beautiful, beautiful journey with flamenco himself. And he actually brings out the emotions of flamenco on his canvas. You know,
Kunal, that is so
Hello,
nice.
Ken.
That is so nice of you to say, but this is your show, and I must say your passion is caused a problem for me, because I'm stuck in the UK and I want desperately to follow you around with my paintbrushes and to visit these places and get the soul and guts of this beautiful art form. I really am feeling that, and you've caused that, you've added to it.
I hope we meet together in Spain in the next summer, Ken.
That's my plan. In fact, we almost met, didn't we? Because I'm desperate to get to those caves. I'm desperate to immerse myself in that culture and to feel it, so that my brush would be able to do something. I can't dance it, but I can paint it.
No.
Muy bien.
You can express it. That's more important.
As you can. Thank you very much, Kunal. And I've enjoyed your lecture very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much for the arrangement to prepare this. It's been very nice.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Muy bien. Pues no hay más comentarios.
Vale.
Quiero agradecerte una vez más, Kunal. Thank you so much.
A ti, muchísimas gracias. Thank you very much.
Y te esperamos en Delhi, en el auditorio del Instituto Cervantes.
Sí.
Y esperemos también que se vuelva a celebrar una nueva edición del Festival de Jodhpur. No sé si el año que viene o ya veremos.
Ojalá. Yeah, but we have to take this together all over India. We have to take flamenco together with the language and the culture and the tourism all together.
Muy bien. So,
with the wine and the cheese.
Muy bien, pues os quiero también dar las gracias a todos los que habéis estado hoy aquí y recordaros que el próximo jueves tendremos con nosotros al hispanista Anil Dhingra para hablarnos sobre el oficio de intérprete de español en India, dentro de nuestro ciclo Tribuna de Hispanistas Indios. Estáis todos invitados, y pues muchas gracias y hasta pronto.
Gracias.
Fuerte abrazo.
Adiós. Namaste.
Fuerte abrazo.